Thank you very much, Hassan, for the wonderful presentation. According to the program, we are now ready to receive some comments and questions for the three presentations that have been made so far. That is from Basi, UNIMA, and the Geological Service Department. You can show by a lift of hand if you have any question. It's only for about 15 minutes. That 15 minutes, yes, of some time. That's about 30 minutes. Oh, just 15 minutes. Yeah. So if there is a question, you may raise your hand.
This is Jefferson Taylor from Geological Survey 2. Apart from bamboos, what other materials are you testing at Mubasi? Thank you.
Can you take that, Innocent?
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. We test quite a number of materials. For example, we do test concrete. We also do test soil, different parameters of soil. And sometimes we also test bituminous materials and also steel. So basically, we are much into testing of construction materials of various kinds. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I come in? Sorry, I'm trying to check where I can raise my hand.
Okay, okay, go proceed, guys. Proceed.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and we are happy that there are so many measures coming up to ensure that structures are resilient. This is what the Ministry of Education wants. But how can University of Malawi, how can Mubasi and the University of Malawi help us in terms of infrastructure, in terms of advice, where to construct and not to construct, especially where we have floods like the Lower Shire and other parts of the country. And I've seen that some parts, especially the northern part of Malawi, is very prone to that slide. So how can how can the ministry benefit from that knowledge?
Thank you very much for the question. I think this is where Geological Service Department also mentioned that there is need for collaboration. As I think as universities, we have tried to work on how best to approach issues of land mapping, because you recall that, for example, Malawi Housing has an estate or has an estate in Liwonde, and that land is very prone to what Zuze Unima said regarding the soils. And so I think it's an area which I've mentioned in terms of where to prepare schools, because I think when there's disruption to schools, it's even much worse, because from the disaster management affairs, it is where people go. Normally we build the schools blocks with very high standards, and so they become like areas where people can take refuge. And so you're right that indeed we need to work on this one, where we need to map the country. Currently, we have a map which I think UNIMA, with the collaboration of Bristol, they are working on to say, okay, where would earthquakes take place? And the Geological Service just mentioned that in terms of landslides also, where can we map? And there's an area also Chancellor College is also working on as UNIMA. As Mubasi, our focus is on, as was mentioned by Innocent, that it's on the construction types. So once an area has been chosen, when a survey is made, it does show that there are areas where construction may require a little bit of more materials or investment. We recall, Madam, that I think it was maybe more than 5-10 years ago now, in Chilomon. I think that built a school block, and it was on a high elevation. And due to wind, the structure actually collapsed. They used these cement blocks. So where we have standard designs for schools, it is still important that an assessment be made on the type of ground that is there. So I believe that we will be able to get a solution, but as you have rightly asked, the issue that we should be able to map the country. And I think from this one, we should take it up as was presented by the various presentations so far. All of them are saying that there is need to ensure that where we build, it is an area where hazards are taken into account. Thank you. Is that a hand? Yes, Bright.
Yeah, mine is a question on the access to the information, because we have heard that we have maps where you have prominent location of landslides, from seismic zones. And so how accessible is such information, whether it's for design purposes or maybe for further monitoring of such structures?
I think that's Hassan. Hassan, can you take that up?
Yeah, I can take that one. So far, that information for the landslide maps or the products of the GMAP project, because in the presentation we said that currently Geological Survey through the GMAP project we have produced the landslide maps, landslide prone area maps, the floods, the earthquakes as well. The products for the GMAP will be launched and released very soon. They are not yet out, but the presentation just tried to capture them. However, on the seismic data, you can able contact any office of the Geological Survey, whether you are in the north, in the center, or in the south, and you can have the data. Of course, there is a small fee which comes with purchase of the data, and at the same time we have to at least state the reasons at which you put the data, at the use to which you put the data. So I think I've answered your question, I think so. If not, then we can always clarify. But as long as you visit any Geological Survey Department office, definitely you'll be able to access some of the data that is readily available. For the GMAP, let's wait for the actual launch of the products, then the data will be available to the public. Okay.
I think Hassan. Patrick, you have a hand up.
Yeah.
Yes. Mine is a question or following the presentation from Mobas. Innocent, you said that you have got seismic zones, like you have zone 2, zone 1. I don't know how many zones you created. How did you come up with these seismic zones? Did you consider the occurrence of seismicity and the seismotectonic features? Thank you.
Was that Susie? Susie, I think Susie will talk about that one.
No, it was Innocent.
Innocent, Innocent.
Yeah. Of course, it was within my presentation. Basically, we used a mobile app that was developed by our colleagues in Bristol. So this particular app had some functionalities that were able to input data, and it was able to clarify the zone of a particular structure based on the input data. So in terms of how the zones were developed, maybe I could ask my colleagues in the UK on how the zones were developed in the app. Maybe Tassos or...
Yes, I'm providing an answer in the chat so that I don't interrupt you.
All right. No, thank you, Tassos. Then we have Robson. We have the hand up. Robson.
Can I come in?
Yes, please, Robson.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ngoma. My questions relate to the the bamboo. It's exciting that we have that study, and there are revelations that the use of bamboos can really help in terms of resilience structurally. But what I'd like to find out at the onset is the type of bamboos. First, I would like to know what type of bamboos are these? Are these the local bamboos that we see around that can be grown elsewhere, or maybe there is a special type of bamboos that have to be grown and used? And if there are specific types of bamboos, where can these favorably be grown? Because if these bamboos can favorably be grown elsewhere, then we really need to also look at the area of awareness. I don't know how many in terms of how much awareness has been done so far in terms of really making sure that people know that there is this initiative so that people can take advantage on. So I think I just wanted to find out basically around the bamboos. Thank you.
I thank Robson for the question. In terms of the types, of course, during our investigation, we found that there are 4 predominant bamboo types in the country. And in our choice of bamboo, we said that, well, since we are not very sure about the quantities, this is why I mentioned that when we were doing these studies, we were able to contact particularly FRIM, Forest Research of Malawi, because we said, okay, since they are a research arm of the Department of Forestry, maybe they can be able to tell us the prevalence or where we can find the large plantations of bamboo. And with their response, they said that bamboo is not a tree, so they are not into grass. So went to botanic garden in Zomba, where they said it was a grass, and also they didn't give us a much convincing answer. But I was given hope last week when we were at a meeting at the Malawi Bureau of Standards that in Luana, they are looking into bamboo, since they are also the one dealing with the agriculture and the forestry in terms of research of actual plants. So they said that they're actually promoting, but the ones they are promoting are these big bamboo, which can be used for, as I showed the truss there, they're the ones that they actually promoting to grow. But in our investigation, we looked at those small bamboos that are very common. We had got some samples from Milale, there's a forest there. We got them from there. And others, as you go towards Chikawa, there are a lot of bamboo that is grown there. But also tried on those yellowish bamboo, which we got from Vumbo area. So we tested nearly all types that are found within the southern region. So indeed, I think as you have rightly put it, that okay, where do we move to now? What would be the next step? I think the next step with the positive we have got now that we have as a country, we are on the path, because the meeting we had at Malawi Bureau of Standards was to look at the standards for bamboo construction. So there are a number of documents, that is the standards that are being looked at. So I think the meeting resolved that it is important that we adopt these standards, and what remains later is for them to go back to their board and make sure that they become standard. So I think with that, I would say that we will now be able to disseminate information on bamboo so that those who have got land, they can grow the bamboo. As you know, bamboo is also a versatile crop. They can use for many other uses. Thank you very much for the question. Thank you. I have a hand from Anok. Anok?
Hello. Hello.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ngoma, and everyone for these very nice talks. Maybe just first of all, before I ask my question, my colleague Hassan did mention about the data that we have at the George Sabo Malawi. In addition to that, may I also mention that very soon we'll be having the what we call the geological database management system, which will be online. Currently, it's intranet operational, but very soon, God willing, it will be on internet. That will be another form of area where people can access data maybe more easily, even if they don't come to offices. In addition to that, on the question from the Minister of Education as well, you may wish to know that the GST is part of the National Disaster Management Planning Committee, and we do submit our reports almost every now and then to the DODMA, Department of Disaster Management Affairs. So in case maybe where you are not very close to GST, you may also refer to DODMA for some of the basic information in some areas. They also have that archive of information on the disasters in Malawi, especially the geohazards, landslides, earthquakes, with anything that may be below the surface. Now, coming to my question, this question goes to all the three maybe partners, GST, and also the UNIMA and the MOBAS. One of the presenter, if I may quote, I think it was Dr. Ngoma, you did mention about the how to take these issues of research into policy, which I believe is very true. But I wonder, how much are we engaging with the National Planning Commission? Because this is the center which I feel if they are involved, they can easily take these matters into the policy issues and also to the higher powers where decisions are made. Actually, I found the Director of Innovation at NPC very much welcoming to this innovation, but I've checked the list here. I don't seem to see anybody from the NPC among the participants. So I wonder if you are talking to them on these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anok, for this very pertinent question. Indeed, sometimes they say that you may think you are doing well communicating, when in actual fact you are communicating yourselves. So you are right that indeed we should have in this particular webinar invited the National Planning Commission, which we did not, but I do think that we will be able to share the proceedings of this particular webinar so that they are aware. Of course, personally, I've been involved with the National Planning Commission in other areas, but for this one, it skipped my mind that I needed to invite them as well. So thank you for that. And also your comment on how we can access information that you as the department, GST, are doing, and the mention of DODMA as well. So it's very important. Thank you very much for that.
I'm not sure.
Do you have any other question?
How is
comment?
it? To what extent?
I don't know. More than you don't know, we don't have much in terms of my plantations. Anything,
Arabson, you have the floor?
No.
All right, okay. Yeah, any other question? Okay, if not, then on the program, there's a hand. That Rapson again, yes, please, Rapson. You have the floor, Rapson.
Sorry, Doctor. There are some questions in the chat. Maybe
in the chat.
I don't know if you have been able to see those.
I didn't check on that. There is this one rooms to have at least 2 doors for evacuation purposes during earthquakes. Has this particular research finding been convention of education and DODMA for action? Well, of course, we have not communicated. This is why I'm saying that our findings from this community resiliency study, which we are doing with University of Bristol, once we have concluded, we should be able to summarize areas for action by various institutions within the country. So this is one that I think we have found, because secondary schools, primary schools, all of them, they do have a structure with most of the schools have a block with 2 classrooms, and each classroom has only got 2 doors. So one for enter and out through the same. So indeed, this is a very important point. We need to communicate. Thank you very much. Let me check if the other comments which are on the chat. About it, yeah, okay. There was yeah, there's issue of Likoma, that Malawi has 27 districts and not 28 districts and not 27, including Likoma. Yeah, of course, we did not manage to go to Likoma. It's something that we will explore and see, because sometimes, like when we went to Neno, Neno said, Neno, you know, most people don't come to do any research here because of the road and other things. So Likoma, as we know, is one of okay, Felix, you on mute, unmute yourself, Felix. Yeah, so I'm saying that the Likoma is one island where we have not been able to reach, but we should find a way of ensuring that we also reach them on this particular study. Let me check if there is another comment produced. Okay, this one, I think the one on seismic zones has been answered. Especially of seismic, in terms of expanding clay problem being experienced in other parts of the country, what could be some of the proposals? That is for Zuze. Expanding problem. Zuze, can you speak on that one?
Hello.
Yes, there's hello. Hello, Zuze. There is something on the expanding clays. How can you expand it to the country as a whole?
Yes, my suggestion. Yeah, my proposal is that first of all, we need to understand the distribution of those clays in those areas. So we do some mapping. But after we do the mapping, we need some engineering solutions. So what kind of structures can withstand those contractions and expansions? I think this is a question I cannot answer. Perhaps you and us working together, we need to find solutions for places like this. Thank you.
I think it was for that. That's true. We need to collaborate more. Okay. Innocent, there's something on the resilience construction, whether there are any proposals from what you have found so far? Innocent?
Which question on that one? In terms of the structures that can be built on this kind of clay, of course, that one is subject to a legal analysis of how the soil behaves and how much stresses are being generated from the soil during the expansion and contraction, so that we are well informed in terms of how much of stresses will be induced in the structures and what kind of materials are supposed to be recommended to be able to withstand the pressures or the stresses induced by the ground movements due to expansions and shrinkage. So it's based on the design itself. Sit down, analyze the whole thing, and come up with the proper design based on the behavior of the material. So that one is a desk study that is subject to, enough time that we can sit down and look into the whole analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Innocent, for that. There's also another one which talks about, in terms of our flood risk, how high should the flow be Well, of course, what we observed in the lower Shire is that it depends, because as you know that the water floods from the mountains, and as it goes down, the level at which a structure can be needs to be assessed based on observations first, where you can look at the trees, look at where the watermarks are, or existing structure. There are generally watermarks, and so from there you should be able to know where to raise the building. So there is probably no easy answer for a single solution. So it depends on where the construction is taking place, as well as by Minister of Education. That well, how could you advise us to say if you are building in, for example, Washington, where people have already settled and they're not going to move up, but they have already built their houses in the elevated platform. So you look at the assessment based on the existing flood levels. But as it has been seen, I think Zuze did a project where a vehicle was actually swept away. And what we observed looking at the flooding that has happened this year due to Cyclone Anna, it is very challenging for us engineers and architects, because the level that we saw, for example, at Kamuzu Bridge, we found that the water level was almost 2 meters above the finished floor level road. So you can see that there, the solution would be quite difficult. The best way would be to move people a little bit upline so that their houses are at a reasonable elevation. Otherwise, accessing the floor would also be a problem. That's how I'll take that one. But it's something that would be based on a location basis. Duncan, you have a hand up? Duncan, you have a hand up, you can take the floor, you're on mute. Okay, Patricia, you can go ahead, Patricia. Patricia, you can take the floor, you have a hand up. No? Okay, Duncan, you have the floor. Duncan, no? Okay, Duncan, you are not able to pick. Anok?
Thank you so much, Dr. Ngoma. My hand is in view of a question from, I think it's Jeffrey Chafula, who was asking about the case of Blantyre, maybe some of the hills needed to be mapping in his view. So what I want to say that actually for Blantyre City, the Georgia State of Malawi, together with our colleagues from Germany, the BGR, that's the Georgia State of Germany, have done some work in Blantyre where the entire city was mapped in terms of its geohazard stability issues and issues of some of these hills, slope stability and everything were mapped in that report. I believe Zuze, it should have been part of the project, if I'm not mistaken. So we have that report, and I believe for those who may want to see it, they could get in touch with us at GST. Perhaps we could begin from there, but I think there's something to begin with. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Anok, for that. I think we'll have a 5-minute short break for now. So I have a 5-minute break. This is 13 past 11. So we'll continue at 18 past. Thank you very much.